1962, President John F. Kennedy gave his famous speech describing the rapid progress of human innovation.
For we meet in an hour of change and challenge. The greater our knowledge increases, the greater our ignorance unfolds. No man can fully grasp how far and how fast we have come.
He set an audacious goal for mankind.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
Many people believe that the rapid pace of innovation has continued since the moon landing. But they are wrong. In reality, human progress has actually stalled in the past 50 years. The first supersonic passenger flight was more than 55 years ago. The last flight was more than 20 years ago. Fundamental progress and core parts of science and technology in the real world have regressed.
If we had better tools for biology, we might already have better cure for cancer, better crops to feed the planet. The biggest challenges that biologists face today include reproducibility, manual work, and the time required to do all these experiments.
And also the fact that their machines cost more than 5 years of their wages. These machines are often out of date and not maintained well because that maintenance cost is a separate thing they have to pay for.
If we don't increase the pace of innovation, we're going to be the first generation to live shorter lives than our parents. The climate crisis is only accelerating, which can increase the pace of pandemics and the spread of disease. We won't be able to make vaccines quickly enough, and gene therapies won't be accessible to people even though they exist.
The dream of the bench scientist has always been sort of a walk-away automation, right? So having something that's inexpensive and reliable and robust is truly something that unlocks a next level of productivity in wet lab science.
My parents instilled in us this need to have a massive positive impact on the world, given the privilege we had being born in the US. They'd take us to protests and rallies to fight off the dictatorship in Iran. As an 11-year-old, I couldn't really fight off a dictatorship. And during this time, CRISPR was unveiled to the world, CRISPR technology, and I was going to a doctor's appointment. And I saw this poster about how a scientist was using CRISPR to cure childhood blindness. To me, that seemed like magical. This problem in the world that seemed impossible to cure was being addressed by this crazy new technology. So right after that doctor's appointment, I rushed home and emailed a bunch of professors trying to get into their labs. Surprisingly enough, they weren't too keen on a child roaming around their Ebola laboratory. So I decided to take matters into my own hands and snuck into a college research team. Then my dreams sort of came true and I was able to do genetic engineering. And then I went on to Harvey Mudd, where I studied mathematical and computational biology. Throughout doing all of this work, I would see these students and these professors, these brilliant people, start these projects that could change the world. And I'd see these experiments get abandoned, not because they were disproven, but because of human error. I soon realized that I couldn't have the impact that I wanted to have within the confines of a small academic lab. So I dropped out with only 1 semester left to start Trilobio to fully automate the fields of molecular and synthetic biology for the first time to eliminate human error and solve the reproducibility crisis in biology.
So this is the Trilobot. You're going to see it using its electromagnetic no moving parts tool changer to grab the 8-channel P1000 pipette. This tool uses these pipette tips that you see over here to move precise amounts of volume of liquid from one well to another. This is bread and butter of a lot of biology. So the basic operation, kind of like adding 2 numbers, is for a computer. I think ever since I was a kid, I saw engineering as a way to show people how magical the world could be. I didn't actually get into robotics through robotics. It started from kinetic art. I started out as a classically trained pianist, and I really loved music because other people creating music changed the way I felt, and that same energy eventually drew me to kinetic sculptures and mechatronic art installations. And that was like one of those experiences where I was like, we were able to create a magical, like you wouldn't believe it was possible until you saw it.
Max brings a massive amount of interdisciplinary experience to Trilobio. The systems he creates are not only beautiful and artistic in their design, but they're also highly reliable and performant.
Roya really caught me with her energy and her insistence that the way things were didn't have to be that way. And she has an endless drive for pushing that forward.
At Trilobio, we're going after high speeds, high reliability, and affordable robots. Most companies are only able to achieve one of the characteristics on this list. We don't compromise and constantly go after all three. We had been building this robot for years, literally carving it out of aluminum. We drove it across the state to our customer site. We're setting it up for our customer and soon realized that we were in an incubator space. There were 7 other CEOs gathering around our setup of the robot. It was already high stakes. Now the stakes are piling on. As Max was about to hit the start button, we were both holding our breath. He hit the button and it worked. We saw the faces of all the biologists around us light up, and we felt that what we had been building for all these years was worth it.
My name is Richard Yu. I am the CEO and co-founder of Abalone Bio. We're developing next-generation drugs in obesity and in inflammation that are very good at isolating the beneficial effects and getting rid of the side effects that prevent a lot of people from benefiting from these drugs. The impact that the Trilobio robots have had at Abalone Bio is we've been able to more reproducibly run one of our key assays in testing whether our antibody drug candidates are having the effects that we want. Right? So being able to reduce the error in those measurements and increase the reproducibility has given us more confidence when we make a call one way or the other. If Abalone Bio succeeds, we will have multiple drugs on the market treating tens, if not hundreds of millions of patients and giving them options when they don't have options today. And Trilobio robots help unlock that.
As an investor, when you have a very limited amount of time to assess how exceptional these founders are, what we're really looking for is examples in their past of extraordinary ability. And with Max and Roya, that was easy. On the surface, you have these 2 college dropouts with very limited professional experience. But if you dig a little deeper, what you'll find in Roya is a child prodigy who was working as a young teenager in a college lab, effectively illegally. And with Max, you have what I can only describe as the modern-day Leonardo da Vinci, a master of multiple disciplines across technology, science, art, and music. He's a real polymath.
When I first met Roya, I was skeptical. She told me that she is going to build automation for biologists from the ground up. That's no small feat. It's a really difficult problem. And when Roya showed me the first Trilobot, it was just an idea, but with very little capital raise, they were able to bring the Trilobot to reality to start serving biologists. It was incredible.
If every lab in the world were to have a Trilobio system, we would be accelerating research along all of these fronts. Very practically today, what it allows us to do is it frees the scientist's mind and attention to more important matters. So our scientists can use their brain space to focus on thinking about the questions that they're trying to answer or analyzing data, which is much more important and better use of their brain space.
We're creating a paradigm shift in how biologists do science with our technology. And a challenge we're going to face from that is that we have to create hardware and software interfaces that make that transition into the paradigm we're creating as natural as possible so that scientists around the world adopt our technology.
Biologists worldwide collectively spend about 750 million hours and $37 billion per year on repeatable manual lab tasks such as pipetting, plating, and sample management. Trilobots not only have the ability to automate this work, allowing biologists to focus on higher leverage research, but they also unlock billions of hours a year of experimental execution time overnight and on the weekends.
Trilobot is going to completely change the pace of how we do biological experiments in ways beyond our imagination, beyond what we see biology as today.
People will be able to reproduce experiments across the world and build off of each other's work for the first time. We'll be able to solve previously incurable problems like cancer and making gene therapies more affordable with technology like Trilobots, which accelerate that work and make it more accessible.